Hello and welcome to this new video in the Learn C# series where we're going to be covering strings today. Now, if you're new here, I have an upcoming internship that requires I know C#, and at the moment I don't really know too much, but I have found a way that teaching is the best way of learning, so that's why I'm creating this series here. We're going to be using C# 12 in a nutshell over on O'Reilly Media to guide our learning. Along with that, we're using LinkPad 8 to write all of our C# code for the moment. With that out of the way, let's get right into escape sequences. If you're new to programming, you might not know that every character is mapped to some sort of number in a table. So for instance, A or lowercase a is equal to, I believe, 96 over on the ASCII table, and B is subsequently 97, so on and so forth. And that lowercase a and uppercase A have two separate numbers. So right here, we have actually a sequence of mapped numbers here that just happen to be a capital F, then lowercase I, R, S, T, but then also we have this space. Spaces, tabs, new lines, they all have their own mappings too. So an issue is when I do top plus bottom here, we're not actually going to get the top on the top line and the bottom on the bottom line. So run, it actually just concatenates it all on a single line. We need to be explicit about how strings are going to be presented on the screen. So a new line character is represented as a \n. A \n is an escape sequence. An escape sequence is basically a backslash and then another character followed after that, which is typically maps to the beginning character of whatever it is. So for new line, it's N. For a tab, it's T, and so on and so forth. And so here we just have a \n saying I want to have a new line immediately after the line word, and then whatever gets printed after that is going to be on a separate line. So here, bottom line will be below this. So let's go ahead and run this again. And there we go. We get first line on top, bottom line on the bottom. Let's go ahead and do a real quick example of a tab. So if I do first line and then do \t, we're going to see that there's a tab separating the first line and the bottom line. And there we go, that is our tab, which is represented by 4 spaces. Another question you may have is, then how do I use a backslash? Well, we just escape it with an escape character. So we do \\, and so this is escaping this backslash right here, and then we run, and there we go, we get representative of a single backslash. And same goes for, like, what if we wanted to do a double quote or a single quote, because over here in C# we use double quotes to represent strings and all that stuff. As you can see, we're already starting to get an error that this wasn't closed off correctly, because right now we are actually escaping this double quote right here. So I can instead enwrap this whole entire first line in some double quotes by doing a \, and then escaping this double quote, and then do the same thing here. And so as we can see right here, this first double quote is the opening of this entire string, and then this last double quote closes the string. So we're going to see first line here is actually enwrapped in the double quotes, and there we go. Here's another problem that we have though. What if we wanted to represent file path inside of a string? Well, already here we have going from the desktop folder into folder 1, then folder 2, and then to some sort of file. We're already getting some sort of compile error, and if we hover over it, we're saying it's an unrecognized escape sequence. So let's just go ahead and add another \, to escape this \, and go ahead and print out what happens here. So we kind of get what we want. We get the \ desktop, and then some unknown character that happens right here, and then happens again, and it happens again. As we can see, that's following the place inside of our backslashes subsequently in the string. Okay, so then let's just go ahead and add another \ to escape them. So more backslashes need to be added, and so once we run it, oh, there we go, we finally get our folder path. But this was kind of annoying to type out, and it doesn't look necessarily right. But C# thought about this and said, okay, we're going to give you verbatim strings. Verbatim strings allow us to escape the escape sequences. So if I prefix this string with an @ symbol, we can actually go ahead and take out this backslash, and all the other double backslashes that we have, and just turn them into single ones. And there we go, we're actually escaping the what they're trying to interpret as escape sequences. So let's run this again, and there we go, we get our just regular desktop \folder 1, \folder 2, and \file without having to double up all on the backslashes. Our last kind of string is the raw string, which allows us to not worry about escape sequences at all, because over in the verbatim string, if we wanted to use double quotes, we have to double up on the double quotes still. So a raw string just allows us to use 3 double quotes in a row, and then anything that comes after that is how the string is literally going to be represented, a quite raw version of the string. And so here we go. We start out with hello and then world, but you can see that we don't have a backslash in there. Hello and world are going to be printed on separate lines. So we run and hello world is printed on 2 separate lines. And if you want to see that the escape sequences actually don't work in the raw string, we can go ahead and add in a backslash n, a backslash tab too for fun. And we see that backslash n, backslash t appear in the string itself. We also don't need to try to escape the double quotes. So if I wanted to go ahead and put in 2 double quotes right here, they're going to appear right there, just as long as it's not some triple double quotes, which I believe would be some sort of issue, because then we're compiling 3 triple quotes. Now, as you saw earlier in the video, we can concatenate strings, and to concatenate means to just add 2 strings together. So if I have S1 up above with col, and then S2 is 10, so when I add S1 and S2, I'll get Colton. What if I wanted to add a number instead into a string? You might question, well, do I have to make that number a string first or anything like that? No, not at all. You can just go ahead and add whatever number, and it's going to automatically just promote it to a string. And what it actually does is implicitly call its toString function. So we run it here and we get col and then 10. On the topic of concatenation, if we wanted to insert a bunch of variables into our string, it can get pretty long and messy, especially when we're combining that all into a console.writeLine method. And so here I have a my name is and then plus Colton. So we're concatenating this string literal right here with the name that we have defined up above as Colton. And so when we go ahead and run the program, we're going to get my name is Colton. But what if we had, a first name, a last name? What if we wanted to represent an age, a hometown? All this information, we would have to continue to concatenate literal strings with the variables, and it just becomes a long mess, and we don't really want to deal with that. So instead, what we can do is turn this into an interpolated string. So by prepending it with a $sign before and taking out this concatenation, we can just instead use curly braces within the string and give the variable name. So let's go ahead and run this, and we get the same thing. My name is Colton. And if you're wondering, yes, we can also just put in a literal in here too. So let's just do a lowercase Colton and make sure this works. And yeah, that works too. But there's no point in doing that, because the whole point of using the curly braces in an interpolated string is to insert some sort of variable that can occur there. One last thing before we end the video is showing how to compare 2 strings. Now, if you think of like Java or something, when we compare 2 strings, we actually have to use their dot equals method. But over here in C#, we can use dot equals, or we can use just the double equals sign. So I can have Colton and then equals equals the same thing over here, and it's going to print true. But beware, strings are case sensitive when we program. So if I change this to a lowercase c, we're going to get a false, because remember earlier in the ASCII table, uppercase c has a different mapping than its lowercase c. Alright, that does it for the video. What we covered in this was escape sequences, verbatim strings, raw strings, concatenation, all this great stuff that we can do with strings, and hopefully that will make you a better programmer. If you learned something in this video, please consider subscribing and liking the video, and I'll see you in the next one.